Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Deontay Wilder, is there a more polarising champion in world boxing today? The Alabama product, a latecomer to boxing, has amassed a record of 38-0 since turning pro almost a decade ago. All but one of those wins has been by knockout. Along the way, he's collected the WBC heavyweight belt, the famed green belt, which he's held since 2015. And subsequently defended successfully 5 times. On the face of it, he should be one of the biggest names in world boxing and on his way to a Hall of Fame career. But unfortunately for him, he's not. Wilder's career has been marred with criticism that he's taken easy fights and avoided top competition like the plague. You don't have to search too far to find on YouTube or elsewhere articles that go in on Wilder to the point where it is outright abuse. But in the same breath, Wilder has an immensely loyal fan base who believe he is the best in the business, best in the heavyweight scene, and he would wipe the floor with Joshua or Parker. That remains to be seen. My take on Wilder is somewhere in between of those two differing opinions. It is true, Wilder has not fought the best competition in his career, and that when someone like Tony Bellew actually says his one scalp at heavyweight is better than Wilder's resume combined, I kind of have to agree. But that doesn't mean that he can't actually redeem himself. I do think fans have the right to expect better opposition from Wilder, at least since he picked up the belt. The defences against the likes of Molina, Duhaupas, Spilka, Areola and Washington, they really don't cut it. But in fairness to Wilder, he was set to face Povetkin, but he popped dirty for Peds. All of us would have thought much more highly of Wilder had he knocked Povetkin out, but he was robbed of that opportunity. Another more recent scheduled fight against Warzyk, he also tested positive for Peds, so that fight was scrapped, and Gerald Washington, he was drafted in at late notice. Interesting though that Warzyk was chosen as the opponent, because he was lower than Washington in the top 15 of the WBC. And from what Wilder's camp was saying, it was a tune-up fight to test his hand. Now, I have a little bit of an issue with that because I think if you can hit a heavy bag and really destroy it in training, then you can actually fight anyone. I think people's heads are about as hard as each other. So I don't agree with tune-up fights like that, especially when you're the champion. And especially when you've got other guys who you've defended against that aren't great opposition. I would have to ask the question, is his promoter really looking after his interests? Is it a case where they're just fighting second-tier opponents because they want to hold on to the belt and just milk these fights? But his paychecks are only sort of $1 million, $1.5 million per time. I've got to say, I've got to be confident that Wilder is pretty frustrated with the way that he's seen. He's knocked everyone out except Stiverne, and I know that he must want that recognition. But he will not get that recognition unless he fights the best. Otherwise, he'll get zero credit. That's where I find this whole Dillian Whyte situation so interesting. No matter the amount of money, if Wilder fights him and wipes the floor with him, everyone will just say it was Joshua's seconds and Whyte was overhyped and that Whyte shouldn't have had the opportunity anyway. Who had he actually fought to deserve that fight? So I think Wilder is stuck between a rock and a hard place because if he doesn't fight the best, he's not going to get the credit. And he's also got the situation of his mandatory hanging over his head. A match against Stiverne that no one actually wanted. No one was calling for that fight or clamouring for it, but somehow the WBC decided they would put Stiverne back in as the mandatory. He'd only had one fight in between since his fight against Deontay Wilder, and that was a fight where he got dropped and he didn't look very good. I know we've heard that Wilder wants to unify with either Parker or Joshua. Parker at the moment, he's tied up with Hughie Fury. They will be fighting in September. And Joshua, well, he's going to be tied up for a while. He's got to take care of the Klitschko rematch if this goes ahead. Then obviously Kubrat Pulev. And then Luis Ortiz. But if he does take on Stiverne, gets him out of the way, which I think he should, and I think he'd beat him much more easily than the first fight, Why doesn't he fight Ortiz? Ortiz has that sort of buzz around him as he's the avoided man in the division. Get him in the ring and get rid of him. I guess the only problem with that is, well, that payday may not be that good because Ortiz probably doesn't really bring much to the table in terms of money. It's not going to be a huge fight that fans are clamouring for. I know hardcore fans, they will want to see that, but casual fans, they probably don't really know who Luis Ortiz is. And a lot of people don't know who Deontay Wilder is. If you ask people just randomly on the street, who's the heavyweight champion in the world, half of them probably still say Mike Tyson. There'll be a few that might say Anthony Joshua, but a lot of people are not saying Deontay Wilder. And they're certainly not at the moment outside of New Zealand saying Joseph Parker. So Wilder is stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He needs to win back the hearts and minds of the fans. He's only going to do that against top tier competition. So he can't keep fighting these bums. It can't be Bum Squad. If he really wants to deserve that nickname Bomb Squad, well, he's got to fight the best. And I think we've all seen glimpses of it. He is a devastating fighter. That power that he has in that right hand, that is the equalizer. That is just something that has just knocked guys into, through the ropes and just into next week. He's just got to step up and he needs to prove it. As we know though, he's had injuries. He's broken that right hand. Is that hand ever going to be the same? I have been wondering, is he actually dragging out this whole Stavern fight? He's trying to give his hand a bit more extra time. How many videos have you seen recently where he's been smashing the bag? Well, we'll have to see, but I really do like Deontay Wilder. I like Anthony Joshua, I like Joseph Parker. There's no reason I can't like all of these guys. But in terms of Wilder, it would be good to see him step up. But who's he stepping up against? If he really wants a credible opponent, a guy that's seemingly available right now would be Luis Ortiz. But he's got to take care of his mandatory first. Okay, that's it from me. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm out.